Hey y'all, Cecile here. I'm gonna start my music while you guys come on live. There you go. Whew. All right, so I know I've told y'all before I only have like 8 songs to choose from. And actually I didn't like this one at the time, but it's kind of growing on me. So, oh, if you're with me, go ahead and move a little bit while we wait for some other people to show up. Y'all know I'm gonna have you breathing in a minute. I just want you to move your body just a little bit. You ain't gotta get up and go all out. Just move just a little bit. All right. I see some comments. Hey, Christine. I'm so glad to see you too. Hey, Karen. Hey, Mary Elizabeth. I'm glad y'all are here. All right. Leave me a comment and let me know. Y'all know I like to talk about peaches and pits. So I'm going to start doing intro. I'm going to talk a little bit. And while I'm doing that, leave me your peaches and pits. Leave me a peach, something great that happened for you in the last week, and leave me a pit, something that kind of irritated you, bothered you, got on your nerves, whatever it was for the last week. Hey, Jane Ellen, how are you? So while y'all are working on those peaches and pits, I'm going to figure out how to turn this music down. All right. I am so glad that you guys are here. I know I am in the meditation group on Facebook, and today, again, I am going live also in on my YouTube channel and on my LinkedIn page. So for those of you who are not part of the Facebook group, this is an invitation to you to join us over on Facebook. Um, Hold on. Y'all see I'm trying to mess with my computer. I can't do that and talk at the same time. All right. So for those of you who are not part of the Facebook this group, this is an invitation for you to join. We are called Meditations for Persistence. And not only will you get access to our live meditations that we do on Sunday nights, you'll also be part of the group discussions about mostly US politics, but also some global politics and social justice and human rights. We are a group of activists or people who are learning to be activists or people who are just concerned about human rights. Members of Meditations for Persistence understand that who we are at home, at our jobs, with our friends, in politics, with our spirituality, all that stuff doesn't need to be separate because we are all of those things in one body and we are all of those things in community. And when we silo those parts of ourselves, that's when that's when we kind of get out of alignment and start compromising our values. But when we can bring all of it together and recognize that all of it is who we are, then it helps us stay in alignment and live our values. And so, if you stand up for social justice when you hear about injustice and you want to learn how to make equity a habit so that the way you live challenges the systems that we are trying to change, so that your daily interactions and the way you move in the organizations that you're a part of make people see the inequality and give people space and permission to think differently, then I am inviting you to check out my online membership community, Inspired by Indigo. We follow 4 pillars every month that help people make equity a habit. And each week you spend 30 minutes or less learning or practicing one of the 4 pillars as you get used to this habit. And those 4 pillars are number one, self care. Because healing is a form of protest, and that self care is what creates the capacity to do everything else. Number two, know your facts to undo myths and lies. Number three, undo the work. We've got to undo what we've learned and lived about race and oppression and equality so that we can create something better. And then number four is rest and celebrate so that we can avoid disillusionment and we can avoid burnout. And if you can follow these 4 steps, that's how you sustain yourself and that's how you sustain the cause. And so I have been talking about bringing on new people into this group to help lead the Sunday meditations and the discussions in the group about self care and social justice. And I am so, so excited to bring on my friend and colleague, Monisha Mittal. You know what? I didn't even ask how to say your last name. Is Mittal right? Oh, so I am inviting y'all to take a deep breath with me before I introduce her. Okay? So let's relax your shoulders, relax your tummy, Close your eyes if you want to. Take a deep belly breath in and do a big exhale. Awesome. And y'all go ahead and do one more deep breath while I'm checking out y'all peaches and pits. Oh, thank you, Tiffany. That's actually indigo. I love my frame too. I started using that with my membership name, inspired by indigo. All right, somebody's sharing a peach. My partner was really here for me this week, and I got to see my family. Woo! Awesome family reunion. Uh, okay, Pit was habit energy. Christine, great weekend in Circle doing ceremony. Yeah, the shootings were the pits, but I'm so glad you got to be in community this weekend. Yes. Oh, somebody says, yay, Monisha. Hey, Cynthia. Oh, all right. Pit, procrastination. I know that, Pit. And Peach, resting while procrastinating. I love it. So your Pit had a peach in the middle instead of the other way around. All right, Pitt, the shootings and generally feeling helpless and depressed and being able to do anything about it. Well, you know what? Monisha is the person. Oh my goodness, you showed up tonight and she is going to talk about that tonight. Perfect comment. You are in the right spot. And hey, Patty, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while. Whew. All right, so Monisha Mittal is an applied play practitioner and a transformative somatic coach. She comes to her work as a recovering overachiever. I'm in that club. And someone who felt deeply alone trying to find where she fit since she was 6 years old. Always drawn to lifting up human potential, she began her career in poverty alleviation and community development finance, working in neighborhoods in North Philadelphia and in villages in Bihar, is saying that right? Bihar, India. This culminated in a role as a senior community investment advisor at the Federal Reserve Board of Governors in Washington, D.C., where she received an Initiative and Innovation Award from Alan Greenspan. Go girl, for her contributions to improve the detection of inequitable lending in low and moderate income neighborhoods. As a transformation and communications lead in the federal sector, she uses her community organizing toolset to empower teams by bridging diverse perspectives and helping them identify paths forward to challenging problems. In 2019, she took a leap and left her full-time job to find greater fulfillment and follow a whisper in her heart. That sounds so like you. In the process, she discovered and embraced her differences. Now she helps individuals tap into both their physicality and higher consciousness so they can more directly move beyond what feels stuck, sad, and unsatisfying, bypassing limiting beliefs and old stories, and make heart centered choices with delight, ease, and power. Monisha is an accredited coach of the Applied Depths Practitioner Institute and a certified interplay leader. Y'all have heard me talk about interplay. You're going to love this. She holds a bachelor's degree in economics from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania and a master in public policy for urban economic development from Harvard's Kennedy School. She lives in Northern Virginia with her husband and pets, adores her many nieces and nephews, and loves taking pictures and long nature walks. So give a big old welcome to Monisha Mittal. Hey, Monisha.
Hi, Cecile. Thank you so much. I kind of feel like I am also in the very right place. What a fortunate resource space that this is that you've created.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, this feels like the right place to be right now. I mean, when I created the space, it felt like the right thing, and now it's the right time to be coming back. And I am so grateful and fortunate to have so many friends and colleagues who are willing to help me put it together again this time and jumpstart it again. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. So welcome. It's lovely to see all the names in the comments and see so many people that I celebrate also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as always, when we get started, I like to talk about things that are happening in the world because these are these things that are happening in the world are the reasons that people show up to this group, you
Yeah.
know? And so there's actually been so much going on this past week. I mean, it's not like one incident that we can talk about. There's been so many things. Um, Last week we talked about the shootings and stuff that were happening. We talked about the one mass shooting in Copenhagen, and I don't know if we talked about the other ones that were happening, like at Highland Park or not, but we talked about some gun violence. This week have been some things that happen globally that I think are really important. Um, the first one that I can think of is that the former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, he was assassinated on Friday, and that was like a shock, and especially since he was assassinated with a gun, and they have really strict gun laws in Japan, and it turns out the guy
Extremely strict.
made that gun. It was like a homemade shotgun or something that
Duct
he
tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, he shot and killed the former prime minister just days before, a major election in the country, and it seems like that actually influenced the election. What I read was that, turnout was higher and that his political party actually won a supermajority in parliament.
Yeah, I was really touched when so I hadn't read that piece that they had actually won because I didn't know how many days, but I felt like when I got into the story that it felt like very precarious,
Mhm.
and then to feel into what actually that resulted in. I mean, I find
Right.
that really moving that it was the nation's way of paying tribute, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And now it's actually more of a majority than he had before, right?
Right, I think it was something like they had 70 seats and now they've got like 80 some seats, so it's a
Yeah.
supermajority, yeah.
And he was really clear that part of his platform was that the thing he didn't get to accomplish that he was wanting to accomplish was to change their constitution.
Right, he wanted to take out the pacifist wording about renouncing war and make them a military power, and so now it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's a very moving thing that you can take away the person in the body, but look at what it catalyzed for people in the nation.
Right, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and I read somewhere too that they were expecting like a 49% turnout for the election, and it was actually about 52% of the voting population, so more people actually came out to vote, after this, and it's a shame that it took someone dying for that to happen, but at the same time, or not say but, and at the same time, at least people acknowledged it,
Yeah.
and they responded to it, and it wasn't just, "Oh, it happened and we don't pay
Yeah.
attention."
People were
Yeah.
moved. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that was a very important story to bring up.
Yeah, the other one that I wanna bring up, I haven't seen as much about it, but it caught my eye, is that the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, and I'm hoping I say his name right, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, is resigning because thousands and thousands of people stormed his residence. They are, reacting to the economy and the poverty and not having enough food and evidently mismanagement. And it was like thousands of people just descended on the prime minister's residence. And for the most part, what I heard was that it was peaceful, but then somebody set it on fire.
Yeah, that
And
was not so peaceful.
that
That
part was
part was
not
not
peaceful.
so peaceful, yeah.
No,
I think that
no.
that situation is also evolving a little bit in the sense of, like, people have said they're quitting, but, like, nobody has moved. I
Well, he
think
had said he was gonna step down this coming Wednesday, so we'll see.
alright. The
Yeah.
protesters said they're not gonna stop until they're out.
Yeah. Well, I believe it. I mean, when
Yeah.
I saw the video of how many people were out and heard
Yeah.
they had set the place on fire, I was like, "Oh, they're done. They're
Yes.
gonna get what they want."
So 2 things on that.
Mhm.
One is just an observation that, their context is really different than the American context because
Yes.
um, the president who quit, he the economy was already collapsing, and then on top
Mhm.
of that, he made bad judgment calls that just broke everything. So people
Yeah.
literally don't have basic needs, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
but to me, I'd like to bring up a news item that I saw today that
Okay.
I've been watching the last like 10 days, and I'm very
Okay.
curious about your take on it,
Mhm.
which is I don't know if you've been noticing this little news footprint about protesting the Supreme Court justices in
Oh, yeah.
Maryland and Virginia.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been watching that.
And did you notice the one with Justice Kavanaugh in dinner the other day?
Yes, I did. I saw that. How does he think that he gets to have privacy when he's out in public, when he's taking other people's right to privacy? People aren't supposed to protest him. He didn't even see them, and he's
Um,
complaining.
They were outside the
Right.
restaurant.
They were
They didn't
outside the
even,
restaurant.
like,
He never
clean
saw
his
or heard
soup.
them.
They weren't
Right.
permitting any pepper or salt to be passed over to him.
Right.
Yeah.
He never saw or heard them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
apparently Pete Buttigieg, who I adore, um,
I saw his clip a couple hours
his
ago on Fox.
yeah, yeah. So I didn't see
Yes.
the clip, but I read the transcript. So
Mhm.
basically, and I would love to hear, what anyone else thinks of this. So I think this is important on a couple of fronts, right? So first
Mhm.
of all, Buttigieg said, if you're in public office, you can expect two things. One is you can expect safety,
Mhm.
and second, you can expect people protesting decisions which like impact their lives.
Yes.
And so this isn't the first time that I've been noticing this.
Mhm.
So when Karl Rove, was kind of employing a lot of his tactics,
Mhm.
folks who were from poor neighborhoods in different cities,
Mhm.
and it's a lot harder to advocate for yourself when you're poor. You have
Very much
no
so.
effing time, and you
Right.
have, no resources. It's like a lot. And
Yes.
everyone's depending on you, and you're sacrificing this time in a way that's different than
Mhm.
like if I sacrifice my time.
Right.
So they got them like Karl Rove had them arrested because they found
Mhm.
out where he lived, and they were protesting in the front, um on this like beyond the yard, but they
Right.
were
Yeah, on the sidewalk in front of
yeah.
his house. Yeah.
And that really bothered me. And it also
Mhm.
really bothered me during the Trump administration when their folks were out at dinner and people would find out what restaurants they were in, and that there were some very traditional minded people, even in my family saying, oh, that's reprehensible.
No, it's not.
And I was saying, excuse me, if you have no feedback loop on the impact that your decisions have on real
Mhm.
people's lives,
Mhm.
then we're all screwed because
Exactly.
you don't ever have any impact.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, they wanna stay in their safety bubble, and this is the thing for me. All right, the Supreme Court said that, especially when it comes to people protesting for abortion rights, the Supreme Court ruled that it was okay for people to protest in front of abortion clinics. They didn't even give what people, I think I wanted, what, 300 feet or 300
Oh,
yards or
and I
something. They
think it
wanted
was
the buffer zone, and they said no to that. They said,
exactly,
people could be close enough to spit on them. And so
exactly,
if it's okay for the average person who's already in, a vulnerable state and going through trauma and all that kind of stuff to have to deal with people protesting their behavior,
exactly.
why is it not okay for the people who are in charge in making these decisions? Why do they
People
get
in
to have
incredible places of
incredible
privilege.
power? Yeah. Why do they
Oh,
get to have a buffer zone and
yeah,
not have to hear it?
yeah,
It's not right. It's not
yeah.
right.
I read the statement that Morton put out, and I'm disgusted.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't like their statement either.
The
I did not.
decency that there somehow you violate morals of decency because you're noisy while someone's having dinner. I mean, that's
Well,
the same. Yeah,
if I don't have a right to privacy with my own body, then how does the person who decided that I don't have that right have a right to,
eat dinner.
there's nothing in the Constitution that says you have a right to have dinner in public.
Yeah.
If you're saying there's nothing in the Constitution about me getting to control my own body, show me in the Constitution where it says you get to go out to a public dinner and
Yeah,
not have to hear,
yeah.
what people think.
And Christine is saying so true. And as
Mhm.
taxpayers, we pay their salaries. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what else? You had some other topics.
Yeah, I did have a couple other things, and I'm glad I wrote them down because otherwise I would be forgetting. All right, so there were two things. So say yes, show up to their meals. They shall not eat in peace.
Yes.
Exactly. So there were two things that I wanted to talk about that were at the state level. The first thing is that the Wisconsin State Supreme Court just upheld the legislature's bid to restrict voting rights. Wisconsin has a huge what do you call it, mail-in ballot program. They've got, I think it was 570 ballot drop boxes around the state. Those are, secure installations. They have anti-tampering measures. They're fixed to the ground. They're made with durable materials, and a lot of times they're even monitor video surveillance, so people can just drop off their ballot and know that it's secure. Well, the GOP has been saying that that's not secure and people are doing ballot stuffing and all this stuff. There's no proof for any of that. But the state Supreme Court just said that the ballot boxes are illegal. And so not only are they going to be getting rid of all the ballot boxes, and so now if you want to vote early, you actually have to find an election office to go drop off your stuff, or you have to mail it in. But they also said, so this is going to like severely limit early voting, who has access to early voting, because if you work a day job and can't take time off, then you're going to either have to, find a way to mail it or get to this office, whereas you had 570 places where you could have dropped it off. It's going to severely impact people with disabilities, because now instead of just dropping it off in a box or having someone drop it off for you, if there's something going on, you're actually going to have to call and make arrangements and ask for accommodations, because this bill also says that nobody can drop off your ballot for you. You have to do it in person yourself. And and there's no evidence of any kind of voter fraud, and the little bit that there is done by the party that's trying to restrict the voting.
Well, the other people that are going to be impacted by that are the people who are at high risk with COVID. I mean, those people have very curtailed movements.
Mhm. And Mary Elizabeth is saying she lives in Wisconsin and is
Yeah, I
very
saw that.
anti-democracy. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I saw that and it was just like, ah, yep. And Cynthia's saying it's going to limit elderly people.
right. That
Yeah.
that's actually a great point, Cynthia. So that
Mhm.
is that is actually really strange. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I also, I mean, the other thing that always strikes me, and we don't have to talk about this, but
Mhm.
um,
Oh,
what what
did
I
not hit that.
what I really wonder is, what I never understand is why there's certain talking points that get emphasized and played out,
Mhm.
in, let's say, the news or like the media.
Mhm.
For example, the Republicans' talking point of activist judges. Well, look who's actually activist judges.
Right. Right.
Look
Mhm.
who's actually going rogue and going into territory that's actually outside of the purview of the case that they just,
Mhm.
evaluated.
Well, see, I think that right there proves that the middle media is not liberal. They're always talking about the liberal
Yeah,
media, but the liberal
absolutely.
media repeats GOP talking points and alt-right and conservative talking points without analysis. They just repeat
Right,
it, you
right.
know, and they
Exactly.
don't do the same thing for the Democrats. So, I think that kind of disproves the myth of the liberal media.
Yeah.
All right, and the other thing that I wanted to mention is a law that just passed in Arizona, saying that civilians cannot record police activity from less than 8 feet away. So, if you start recording because you see somebody get pulled over, you're not allowed to get, closer than 8 feet. And this law is going to go into effect September 24th. And I read somewhere that the previous version of this bill was going to ban anybody from recording from less than 15 feet away. And proponents of this are talking about it's a way to protect law enforcement, so people aren't like getting up close and in the way. But that's not true. That just cannot be true. This is a way for to limit police accountability. It's about keeping people out of the way, keeping people from recording, so that they won't be held accountable. There's gonna be no record of anything if they can stop people from recording, and the reason I say stop people is because if the law says you can't get more than, closer than 8 feet, what's to stop a cop from turning around and walking towards you? And then when he comes closer than 8 feet to you, then all of a sudden you've broken the law. And even though it's classified as a misdemeanor, it comes with, if you get charged with this, it comes with a fine and up to 30 days in jail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, as written, it makes exceptions for the person who's being questioned or detained, um, or an occupant in the vehicle during a traffic stop, or if it's on private property for the people who are on that
Right,
private property where it's happening.
right.
However, however, show me where somebody who is the subject is actually going to be able to record, because the minute they put you in handcuffs, you can't record, you know? And
Also, my little experience in this area is those policemen take anything as a violation of their authority. And
exactly.
so, and then forget it if you're a male of color or a person, if you're a black man and you reach for anything, it doesn't, even if it's
It's a
your cell
weapon.
phone,
It's a
it's a
weapon and they're
weapon and
scared.
you're gone. Yeah,
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
so if the only person who can actually record is the person who is the target, then how many people are actually gonna record? How in the heck could George Floyd have recorded what was going on with him? It was only those other
Exactly.
people who were watching, who were
Yeah.
there, who recorded that, you know? And if you're running, or if you're hiding, or even if you're standing still and they're in your face, and but you're the only person who can record and the other witnesses aren't allowed because the cops that are with you or with them are walking towards people, making sure that they're closing in that 8 feet. So people have to keep backing up and backing up. There's no way that this law was designed to protect law enforcement. This law is designed to shut down dissent and people who want to record people who are doing wrong things.
Yeah,
And so hashtag abolish the police. I am all for it. We can do better. We can do better.
we can. I mean, we can talk about this when we segue
Right.
into our talk, but
Right.
I really, I guess the most concise way to say it is we live in very interesting times,
Mhm.
and we are watching whole systems fall in front of our eyes, and
Mhm.
all of this gamesmanship of what to cling to
Mhm.
is just that, because the real harder work is to stand up the new,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's going to be very different, and
Mhm.
it's going to take our heart and the power of our heart, which is
And
what I want to talk about.
exactly, and
Yeah,
this is why when I talk about equity, instead of talking about equity as something we can achieve, I talk about creating equity as a habit, because if we have that equity mindset and we're already living in a way that creates equity in all the spaces that we move in, then that's what we're gonna get. But if we think about it as something we have to achieve, then it's always, "Well, I'll work on that in a minute," or, "I'll do a little bit now, and then I'll do some later." But if you make it a habit, then it's ingrained in everything that you do.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And so I am so excited to see what you're going to do tonight. I'm going to turn it over to you. I cannot wait. You guys are going to love Monisha. I just absolutely love the way she leads meditations and the way she teaches interplay. And I am so excited for y'all to get to experience her tonight.
Well,
So I'm
thank
going to
you.
take myself off and turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. There's so much to cover, and I'm really trying to be mindful of time. But just to introduce myself, as Cecile said, I'm an applied play practitioner and somatic coach. But really, what I try to help people with is to come back home to their self. Um, and I've been fortunate in my journey to come across a really rich tool set for tapping into both our physicality and into our consciousness. And it's a pretty powerful combination, marrying our 3D and our 5D. Um, and what this does for me, when I say come back home to myself, the community of people with interplay, our big thing is about the wisdom that lives below the neck, and availing ourselves of the wisdom that lives below the neck. And for me, how I manifest that or make that real for everybody is I use these tools to connect you to your presence, and your presence is phenomenal for multiple of reasons, but the real thing is your presence is always whole. Your presence doesn't need healing. Um, and your presence is connected to abundant resources for you and your journey. So that's kind of my jam. And so tonight, what I'd like to do is I'm going to just speak into a couple of points to give context. Then I'm going to go into some embodied practices, just a few little ones because we don't have too much time. And then I'm going to take us on a activation, a guided activation, so that we can actually tap into that alignment that Cecile was talking about at the beginning of the show. All right. So since the abortion ruling, I have been playing with powerlessness, but with the theme of the power of not knowing. So, what is our pathway to making strong choices as heart centered warriors? And how do we stay true to ourselves, remaining connected to fierce love? So that at the end of the day, there's more of us and not less of us. So the first truth is that this takes moments of great personal courage. Because in that process, I have to face the reality that I am not in control. And it's tough for us as human beings to face that. And in fact, that's what all of the shooters are actually trying to resolve in themselves, right? When we fear we are powerless, we try to accommodate that in a bunch of different ways. So some of us might put pressure on ourselves to do more or to be different than we are. Others might, shame ourselves and still try to find the behaviors that will not make us powerless. And so what we're trying to do with all of those behaviors is we're trying to control the outcome, right? And courage is trying to face the fact that it may not turn out the way that we want. And courage is to more than that, it's to face the fact that we don't know how it's going to turn out. Oh, that's beautiful. Already feeling so much freedom by being invited to study powerlessness and releasing control as a way to strengthen my discernment. Lovely, lovely, right on point. But then we go deeper. So I want to acknowledge the courage that this takes, right? But then we want to go to the next step. And the next step is just because we're not in control of the outcome, it doesn't mean we're powerless. So, and that's why we come here, right? To this resource that Cecile makes available. We dip into the well, right? And if it's habits of equity, this is both self-care and more, right? So this is a habit that we can develop for ourselves, is dipping into this well. But what comes to me as a very practical thing is that pause between the breath. So no matter what your relationship is with your breath, there is a pause between your inhale and your exhale. And the pause happens at the top of our breath as we exhale and at the bottom of our breath when we inhale. So this is also the place that we are not in control in this pause. But guess what? We are returned to our breath. And we return not just to our breath, but in my experience, we return to being breathed. So we learn that we are not powerless even when we are not in control. So that first step is that we're willing to step into the unknown. This kind of is like pushing our boat out onto the water, right? So then we get to this alignment piece that Cecile spoke of. So this next step is alignment. And this is how we navigate our boat on the water. So we get to align our action, our movement to the energy that is true for us here and now. And essentially, when we get into this habit, and believe me, this is a work in progress for a lot of people I know, but it does get to be a lovely habit. We get to ask, what is mine to do? And when we do this, we maintain the currency of our energy. And it becomes the self-sustaining loop so that we can move more wholly with our energy. And this gives me relief in my body to know that that's what's being asked of me, is what is mine to do. And in the process, We let go, we detach from the outcome, because what we don't know is we don't know how this action is related to the outcomes we desire, but it's okay not to know. We get to trust the wisdom that is guiding us in that pause and in the spaces in between ourselves and our bodies. And in this way, we continue to make room for who we are, our energy signature. And that's our real job. And I really believe that we are on a journey from inner to outer. And this is how our energy can come through with the highest impact, both for ourselves and for other people. So with that, I'm going to invite us into just a few embodied practices. So yes, the still point. Yes, the pause, the still point. It's an amazing space in creativity. That still point. This is the black, like this is the void. Sorry, this is the void from which things emerge. This is the void from that can surprise us, like we're not here alone. So that is kind of the gift here, to harness our energy with that still point. So I'm going to give us just 3 little exercises, and I know my interplay community will know some of these things really well with just a slight twist. So the first thing I want to introduce you to, I'm not going to cover all 4, but we learn as interplay leaders that there's been research done. These lovely women, and goodness, I think I'm blanking on the book right now, but they cover the fact that there's 4 basic movements in the body. And it turns out everybody has a home base with one of these movements, right? So I want to give a little bit of twist with that. There's not enough time to explore all the 4 movements. I want to explore a couple of them, but what I want to do is show you the power of combining uh, some of the movement types with another movement type. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to invite you to do is I'm going to invite you to find, you can do this in your seat. If you're standing or lying down, you can still do this. The first invitation is find something to swing. It can be just swing. You can swing your arm, and you can just do this at whatever pace, is happening for you right now. I'm actually going to just swing I'm going to swing from my sits bones. I'm just going to swing back and forth, like for my hips. All right. So now what I'm going to invite you to do is I'm going to invite you to slow this movement down. And I can feel it in my sits bone when I get to one end and it begins moving me to the other. And just imagining as if you are this rooted tree with those tops of your branches and the leaves just flowing to and fro. And just notice what you're feeling. Just notice what you're experiencing in your body and how that is different from when you started. So feel free, you can put some noticings in the chat. But for me, this feels very supportive. And I love this natural momentum that takes me back and forth, which is that I'm not making this happen. There's this extra bounce, this extra energy. So that's kind of an experience of alignment. So there's another movement called thrust. And thrust is like slicing your hand in the air like a blade. So just play around with thrusting. I mean, we can thrust in a couple of different ways. Sometimes it means thrusting with our elbows. And this is a directed energy. Yes, natural self-soothing. Thank you, Karen. And using your thrust to maybe clear away or push away whatever is bothering you. This is a very targeted energy. It takes quite a lot. And there's some people where they are just natural thrusters. And they know how to get shit done. But now I want to invite you to add this slow down energy. We call it hang energy. And hang energy is as if you are being moved. Like, let's say you're just suspended on the top of water, like you're floating. So I want you to really feel the fullness of a thrust and taking your own sweet time and letting your thrust make its point. And feel the deliciousness of taking your time and making your point. All right, take just a moment to notice that in your body. There are folks that when I do this, they can't stop in our go, push, push, push world. To know that we can take our time and still arrive at our destination. You can play around and see how that feels. All right. So those are just that we covered swing, and we covered thrust, and we combined it with hang energy. So we have a third movement called shape and stillness, which is a lot more organizing and shaping energy. But I'm in the interest of time, I'm not going to go there right now. The next thing I want to do, because I'm going to use this in the meditation, is I'm just going to teach you very quickly what we call the one hand dance. And we're going to combine some hang energy with that too. So I'm just going to invite you to move your hand slowly and smoothly. Just move it in some smooth ways in the space around you. And then move it fast and smooth. And then make some jerky movements, because life isn't always smooth. And do that fast. And now just explore the space around you. Okay, and then here, I want to invite you to, again, like, see if you can find that swing energy in your sits bone. I was doing this earlier, and it was just so much fun. Just see if you can just find this mechanism to have your hips and your sit bones move your hand and slow this down. And I invite you to just explore the area around you, taking up as much room as you need. And find a place to make contact on your body and make contact with another place in your body. And maybe make a shape and make another shape. All right. And the best other instruction is when we're moving, I'm going to just invite you to find your ending. So when we find our ending, we just stop. All right. Last thing I want to teach you, and then we're going to go into the activation, is I'm taking Qigong with a remarkable woman in Maryland named Robin Carnes, and you can look her up too, robincarnes.com. And one of the things that she's teaching us is our inner gaze, and to turn it into an inner smile. So we're just going to practice that really easily. Just everyone, it's almost like if you close your eyes, of course, you don't have to close your eyes, but closing your eyes, just take your gaze and look inside your body and go to your heart and just find an authentic smile for your heart. It could be the smallest upturn of your actual lips, but just see this beautiful portal in your body, everything that it has felt and experienced for you, and just smile with your inner gaze. Yeah, and just notice that point of energy and connection. All right, folks. So just remember those. And now I'm going to take you through this meditation. I invite you to just get comfortable. This could be lying down, seated, or standing, whatever is comfortable for you. And I invite you to welcome in your breath, gradually deepening your inhalations and your exhalations. Feel free to release from your mouth. And inviting this breath in, noticing your exhalations getting longer and your inhalations getting longer. Noticing the rise and fall of your chest. And gently taking your awareness and scanning down your body. Noticing any points of contact your body is making with any surface. Could be your legs, could be your feet. When we get to your feet, just send a nod of gratitude down for this contact your body is making with the ground. And imagine some roots shooting down from your soles of your feet into the earth, into this rich, fertile soil that has you. Breathing into the support and breathing that back up into your body. Continuing to breathe and continuing to welcome your breath. And now gently take your awareness to this place on your back in between your shoulder blades. And gently hold the thought, I receive divine love. I invite in unconditional love. Continue to breathe and notice the quality of your experience in your chest. Notice the quality of your breathing. And take your inner smile and just send it to this place in your body in between your shoulder blades. Continue to breathe. And now take your awareness down into your pelvic girdle where your breath begins. And noticing this place, take your inner gaze and smile at this place where your breath begins. Receiving what is coming in. Watch your chest sink into the effortlessness of breathing, into the effortlessness of being breathed. And gently have the thought, I receive infinite sustenance and support. And just notice you're breathing in and you're breathing out. Breathing in sustenance and support. And now I invite you to take your awareness to the top of your breath. Notice the fall of your breath. And gently have the thought, I am willing to release. I'm willing to release control. I am willing not to know. And breathe into this, and breathe into this effortlessness. And just continue to watch your coming and going in the rise and fall. I am willing to receive what comes in. I am willing to release what leaves. And just notice this coming and going through the central channel from the bottom of your breath to the top. I am willing to experience ease. I am willing to receive joy. Continuing to breathe, I invite you to take one hand and put it on your heart. And I invite you to take your inner gaze and take that smile right into the center of your heart. And with your other hand, I invite you to begin moving your hand any way you want. Remember, stillness is a movement. But move on behalf of moving with your sustenance, with moving with your heart center, moving with ease and moving with joy. Just do this for about 30 more seconds. And notice what you're experiencing, continuing to breathe. Just have this for yourself. And gently find your ending, putting your hand back on your heart. I have two hands on my heart. And now gently ask that same hand that danced, just ask it to move to the place in your body that is willing, that is willing to not know. This is the place of your courage. And just breathe there. Send your inner gaze, send your inner smile to this spot. And very, very gently move your other hand and move this in a one-hand dance any way you want. And move on behalf of not knowing. Move on behalf of this willingness to not know. Move on behalf of moving with your inner knowing. This beautiful place that knows when and how much to move. Have this for yourself. Notice your beautiful body that is giving all of this to you. Send a nod of gratitude to your body and bring that hand back to your heart. And just breathe and just give a nod of thanks to this experience and affirm what feels good. You can gently tap your arms and just affirm what feels good from this practice. And when you're ready, I invite you to open up your eyes and flutter open your fingers. Just notice your experience, notice what you're having. You're most welcome. Your infinite abundance of resource is right here inside your beautiful body and your beautiful heart, your beautiful knowing. So I'm wishing you so many blessings to dance with. Yes, I am willing to receive joy. I am so happy to hear that. Yes, lovely. I'm glad you feel grounded. It's a great way to start the week. Thank you, Karen. I'm just going to blow some more blessings onto all of you. Thank you. You are each a shining light. We are so grateful for you to stand in your sustenance and for you to kick it in this week. Namaste. Thank you so much.